I'm out here checking my grapes. Some of them look like they're being burned by the sun. You can see it right there, the brown spots on them, but I had to open up the area by cutting down branches and leaves to give them some airflow and to get some sun on them. So I don't see many that's like that. So, and I actually don't think they look like they're growing to me either. May just be me, but they look like the same size as they were the other day or the other week. I did water them day before yesterday because we haven't been getting much rain at all. We have a high percentage chance of rain, but for whatever reason the storm always blows over. So I may have to water these again within the next few days. I planted marigolds around them to keep the rabbits at bay, and I'll put the Dalmatia's earth on it this evening to keep the bugs off. But I'm gonna cut my grass. I went out to the garden this morning and turned the water on at 6 this morning, and I didn't turn it off till like 9 o'clock. Those are the times Jeffrey told me it's best to water it. But I'm gonna get started on my yard now. Gonna pick our first green pepper. Cherry tomatoes are starting to turn. We finally got some rain, and I watered the garden too, so that's why the ground still looks wet. It really needed this rain. Look how much the okra has jumped in just 2 days. But like I said, we really needed that rain, and you can tell how quickly the weeds have grown up in between the squash and by the green beans in just 2 days. I'm gonna let the ground dry up a little bit, and I'll get out here this evening. The peas are really starting to bloom as well. We needed this rain. Look at these weeds. But this is what I've picked today. Our first eggplant is starting to grow. Let's see, there we go. Look at our peas. Black-eyed peas. Black-eyed peas are really starting to come on. I'm seeing them. Let's see, there's one forming right there, and then the two others that I videotaped earlier, and then I see more. Where did I see them? Oh, right here. Oops. This is our first time growing black-eyed peas. Daddy grew them when we were growing up, but this is the first time Jeffrey and I have grown them. So this is exciting. It seemed like it was taking them a long time, but they are really starting to produce. Here's one I missed. Make good zucchini bread.
Even though my tomato plants are producing green tomatoes, I still think they're lacking something. So I haven't done it since I planted them that I remember. I'm gonna side dress with my tomato secret. I put a cup around the base of the tomato plant and just water it down a little bit, and it'll eventually work its way down into the roots. Again, I'm side dressing tomato plants with my tomato secret. First Thai chili peppers of the year. It's been a strange year. Usually I have hot peppers by now, but I just picked a couple today. It's my first ones of the year.
I'm gonna do a little short garden tour here. The cherry tomatoes are really starting to, they're producing more so than any other tomato that we have. Is there squash? Or is this zucchini? I think this is zucchini here. Things just are not producing like we're used to. Jeffrey did some side dressing, as you can see down at the bottom there, that sandy looking brown. He side dressed it with the fertilizer that he uses. He did that, I believe, this morning. There's another tomato plant. I think this is another zucchini plant. There's nothing on that. I picked a few yesterday. Pull this weed up, but that's another tomato plant. And by this time of the year, we're typically picking tomatoes. We have lots of blooms, but it's just a slow process. Here's a nice green tomato. Jeffrey said he believes they're about to start turning red. Here's a couple of small zucchinis. Let's see if we can see it here. Right there. Here's a pepper. These are jalapeno. I'm gonna let these get a little bigger. It's more zucchini. But it's just really slow. This is an odd year for us, because usually, like I said, we're picking tomatoes every day. We're picking squash and zucchini every day. I need to go through and probably prune this one a little bit, but I'm not going to get to it today. Here's another tomato plant that has several green tomatoes on them. Not very big, but there's a few. Here's another one. Let's see, I think this is a pepper plant over here. And I'm not going to touch it because it looks like poison ivy growing above it. I'm going to have Jeffrey address that, but that's one of our pepper plants. It looks like a nice one right there, but I'm going to let it grow just a little bigger. Let's see, where's it at? There we go. To pull the weeds. There's a little tomato right there. But hopefully things will really start producing. Here's more squash. There's a bunch of blooms, but no squash. And like I said, I picked a few yesterday. Here's a nice, healthy looking tomato plant with a few green tomatoes on them. Here's another one with tomatoes. Looks like there's a spot on the bottom of that one. And here's our squash. And this time of the year, the squash, oh, there's a nice one. I guess I missed that one yesterday. But I can remember a time we would be picking and picking. Here's our last tomato plant. Small tomato right there. Here's our onions. Actually, I want to pick a red onion today. These next 3 rows are onions.
But I want to pick a red onion because I'm going to make vegetable. Ooh, look how big that one is. That's a huge one. I'm going to pull that one up. I'm going to make vegetable pizza
today, and I want a red onion to go in there. It's a nice onion. I guess I'm just gonna leave this here for the moment. I'll come back and get it. These are the eggplant. They're really starting to bloom.
and we have a smaller eggplant. I think Jeffrey's going to let it get just a little bigger before he pulls it or picks it. There we go.
And these are the cucumbers. We have a lot of blooms on the cucumbers,
But they're slowly producing too. At the beginning, when they first started producing, I picked maybe a pound or two shy of a bushel, but I haven't picked that much since then. Why can't I get this? There we go. Is that a squash bug? I'll show it to Jeffrey so he can see. Got a cucumber here. But like I said, everything is
producing kind of slow from what we're used to. Everything looks good and healthy, but it's just not producing like we're used to. Got 3 cucumbers there. But I'm gonna walk back through and check the cucumbers a little more closer. These are our green beans. I was thinking the other day, you hear our little dog machine. I was thinking the other day that I would be picking green beans 2 days ago, actually. But they're just slowly growing. That whole row there are green beans. And then this row here, they're green beans. You see how small they are? They've been that way for a minute now. And I even watered them probably about 5 days ago. So I'm gonna give them a little longer. And hopefully they'll start growing. But here we have our peas, which I was so happy to see that they are finally starting to really bloom and starting to produce. A few more. Look at that. This is our first time growing these, so hopefully we'll get a nice harvest out of them. I can remember being a kid and Daddy planted peas, and we'd all sit at the kitchen table once they had dried up and shelled the peas. Good memories. I can remember Mama, they would go to Macy's Food Market, Orchard, and buy corn, bushels and bushels of corn, and we'd shuck the corn and watch Mama. I never helped do that part. I'd help shuck it, but I didn't cut it off the cob. But she would cut it off the cob and freeze it. And we would have fried corn through the year. These are our peppers. Really need to get out here and pull weeds. They're not doing too well either. This is nothing but grass and weeds. I need to pull this, but that's another pepper plant. I think Jeffrey did pick some peppers. I don't know if he did it today or yesterday. There's a few on here. Let them get a little bigger. And this is the Carolina Reaper. I think it's producing better than any of the pepper plants. Full of blooms. Next is the okra here. We haven't had success with okra. Well, there's one I need to cut. In a while now. It's been several years that we've had. I could come out here and cut okra every day and have a nice little mess of okra to cook. Now when I come out here, it's hit and miss, and it may be 5 or 6, you know, not enough to really have a serving size of okra. But as you can see, it's really grown. But I'll walk through that in a little bit to see if there's anything to cut. Here's another row of green beans, and they're about like the other row back there. There's a bunch of blooms and a bunch of small green beans. So hopefully they'll be ready soon. I don't know. These are zucchini. There's nothing to pick here. Let's see. Oh, I see one up here. It's not very big, but I'm gonna go ahead and get it. You have to really look when you have zucchini, because those big leaves will hide the vegetable. Same way with okra and the cucumbers. I can't tell you how many times I've actually walked through the cucumbers and thought I saw all the cucumbers there were to pick, just to go back through one more time and see one that I don't know how I could have missed. This is a small one too, but I'm gonna go ahead and get this one too. I don't know, is anyone else, or has your garden been producing a lot? Ours is, like I said, slow going. I'm able to get something just about every day, but nothing that I'm used to in the past years. There's a few more. I'll have to go back and get the baskets. Here's a few that I can pick. Yeah, and squash and zucchini and okra, those are vegetables that you have to pick every day because they produce so fast. But like I said, the squash and zucchini, I've been getting enough to cook and to have enough left over. But with the okra, no success with that. It's funny, this squash and zucchini was the ones that we had to plant 3 separate times before they actually started growing. And now these are producing more than the second batch that we planted. We probably have a few more weeks before the cucumbers start burning up. Same thing with the squash and zucchini. They'll slow down on their production of making cucumbers and squash and zucchini, and then the leaves will just slowly start burning up, and we'll pull those up. And Jeffrey will till this ground and fertilize it and get it ready to plant greens for the fall. And last but not least, the potatoes. You can see how they're really dying back. I drove Daddy past the potatoes today so he could see. And he said, yeah, you all will be digging up potatoes soon. I cannot wait. Because they are all dying back. I think this first long row here are white potatoes, and then the second row over here are red potatoes. There is nothing like a fresh potato. There's nothing like fresh vegetables. I know we've said it before, my brother and I and my daddy and my uncle. It's something about the vegetables when they come fresh from the garden. It is just so good. There's a different taste. Look at the pears here. I don't see as many as I saw before, so I guess the squirrels are beating me to them. There's some way up there in the tree. I don't know that I'll be able to get those. There they are over here. Well, we'll see. There's one that fell off the tree. I'm sorry if there's a glare and this isn't coming in to focus in some of the videos. It's this sun. I don't know, has anyone else felt it, but I think this sun is different since we had the eclipse. The sun is so in your face and just blinding. But that's a view of our potatoes. We'll be digging those up pretty soon. Here's our pecan tree. You can see a few pecans starting to form right there. This is the only thing that I was able to pick today. Like I said, it's not a typical harvest for us, not this time of the year. Usually this bushel basket is full of squash and zucchini and cucumbers. Well, we're not gonna have to water the garden. It's raining. This is the second storm that's coming in. Sun's trying to shine as well. We got a heavy downpour, Daddy said probably about 3 hours ago. And like I said, it's beginning to rain again. Thank you all for watching Siblings A and J Gardening. You all stay safe and be blessed.